Hello, everyone. This is week number 18 of my 52-week challenge to do a LinkedIn Live every single week. I'm here with Mark Struczewski. I think I said that right, aka Mr. Productivity. How are you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing tremendous, and that's why I call myself Mr. Productivity, because most people can't say my last name.
Hey, productivity isn't easy to spell either.
100%.
How are you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. It's really weird to be on the other side of LinkedIn Live. I do LinkedIn Lives quite frequently myself, and it's really weird to be on the other side. So it's a unique experience.
Yeah, no, I like your setup there. So I'm here on vacation, so found a decent background here, and I think the sound is okay. So hey, you do whatever you can to host it live.
Yep, 100%.
So yeah, Mark, I'll let you give you a couple minutes here for you to introduce yourself to our guests here.
Well, I'm known as Mr. Productivity. Thank you for Jeff Young. He's pretty big here on LinkedIn. Gave me that title about 2 years ago, and I decided to take it and run with it because, telling people to go to markstruczewski.com is not the easiest thing to do. So I took Mr. Productivity, the hashtag, and got the domain MrProductivity.com. It's a lot easier for people. I've been in productivity for, oh my goodness, probably 2008, 2009. And I love talking about productivity all day, all night. People can't get enough of me, apparently, because my podcast is like 810 episodes or something like that, and very active on LinkedIn. I just want to help people get from underneath the overwhelm and the frustration and really start living the best lives they can.
Yeah, I'm excited about this topic too. I'll share a little bit later, but I mean, I was doing grad school at the same time while working full time, so learned a lot about being productive as well. But before we get into our topic, I like to start all of my LinkedIn Lives with an icebreaker called Two Truths and a Lie. So I'll go first, Mark. I'll share my two truths and a lie. I'll have you guess. I'll have people in the audience guess. And we'll see if we get it right or not. And then I'll have you share your two truths and a lie. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds good to me, sir.
All right. Let me put this on the screen here. And yeah, if you're watching, comment where you're from and say hi. All right. So number one, I wanted to put in something related to productivity. My best grade in college was when I was working while taking classes. Number two, I've ran a marathon before. And number three, I speak 5 languages. So if you're watching, guess which one is the lie below. Mark, any guesses?
I'm going to say that the lie is number 2.
Number 2. So I know you've been running. What's your running thing right now? How many days have you been running in a row?
1,341, at least 1 mile.
1,341. Wow, that is insane. Is that 4 years already, or is that not quite?
It'll be 4 years this August.
That is crazy. I just finished 100 miles of running this month, and I had to do it right before I went on vacation. So, man, I can't imagine that daily commitment there. Okay.
Yeah, it's not too bad when it's nice out, but when it's really hot or it's raining, you still have to run every day, because if you miss a day, you start at 1, and the number 1 scares me.
Yeah, that's why I started my running challenge in April when it was not rainy here. You've got more sunlight at the end of the day. But yeah, okay. So Mark, you think number 2 is the lie? You don't think I've ran a marathon before? Yeah, if you're watching, guess in the comments. Put one number you think is the lie. Give people here might be like 10 more seconds here.
Get some background music while they're counting down.
Yeah, I know. I didn't put in the Jeopardy theme song. Okay, so my lie is, Mark, you are correct. I have not ran a marathon before. I've ran a half marathon before, and I think I screwed up when I was explaining it, so maybe that's how you knew it was the lie. So I've run a half marathon. I don't know if I will ever run a marathon. The half marathon was tough enough for me.
Well, see, I can't run a marathon because you need to take rest days, and a rest day for me is running only 1 mile. I usually run about 3.1 miles. When you do a marathon, you have to take rest days, and I'm not taking a day off for run a marathon. So I'd rather run every day for the rest of my life than run a marathon.
That is crazy. That maybe I should start doing that too. But it's easy to come up with excuses. But
yep.
Wow, that's like almost 4 years of commitment right there. That is insane.
Yep.
All right, Mark, you wanted to share your two truths and a lie here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here you go.
All right, I was born blind in my left eye. I was a former radio DJ. I used to work at Walt Disney World.
All right, so guess in the comments which one is Mark's lie here. These are really different. So I do this in all of my lives, and the ones that are very similar to each other are hard, and the ones that are just completely different are hard too. So I think either way, they're just hard to guess. So I would say this is one of the tougher ones here. Man, I'm leaning to. I don't know what to guess here. I feel like I've decided between number 2 and number 3. I want to say number 3. I think you have a good speaking voice, so I think you would be a former radio DJ here. So yeah, if you're watching, I'll give another 10 seconds for you to guess which one is Mark's lie. I'm going with number 3. I think you have not worked in Walt Disney World.
Did you want to phone a friend? Want to use your lifeline or?
I don't know. All right. So, Mark, which one is your lie?
Number 3. You are correct.
Yeah.
Yep. I was born birth defect. The nerve between the eyeball and the brain in my left eye didn't develop. And I was a radio DJ for about 12 years. I guess that's why people think I'm a fairly good podcaster. I got the radio voice. But
yeah,
my parents worked for 10 years and retired at Walt Disney World, but I have never worked at Walt Disney World.
Okay. What kind of radio station was it?
My first job was a board operator at an all-talk radio station, so I just had to play the commercials. Then I was a top 40 radio DJ for a while, and then when I moved to Houston, I was on one of their Christian stations down here. So everything but country, I guess. That and classical music.
All right, very cool. So hey, both of us were correct today in our 2 truths and lies. This really happened, so we will give a thumbs up for each other here. So yeah, let's get into our topic here. Let me close that. So, we want to talk about productivity. Mark, you are Mr. Productivity. Let's just start with some, up front. What are some productivity hacks that you can share with others? Maybe something from your personal example.
One of the biggest hacks I'm talking about right now, which is going to seem counterintuitive, but I think we need to take more micro breaks. Everybody wants the latest calendar app. They want the latest hack. How can I get more work done? How can I get more hours, more things done? And I'm like, you're thinking about this all wrong. You need to gift yourself more quiet time. And how you take a micro break is you get up from wherever you're working. I mean, you physically have to get up and walk someplace quiet. If you're in a high rise, go down, take the elevator to the bottom floor, walk outside. If it's cold, get a coat. If it's raining, don't stand out in the rain, but someplace sheltered. So you're going to walk out there. That's the first one. B, you don't want to be on any devices. Okay. C, don't want to talk to anybody. D, you don't want to think about what you're working on, what you did work on, what you have that's coming up. You just want to be quiet. Just close your eyes and do several deep breaths. Now, a micro break is only 5 to 7 minutes long, but don't overthink the numbers. It could be 3 minutes long. It could be 4 minutes long. Don't overthink it. Just give yourself the gift of being quiet, not thinking about anything, because when you do this, your whole body takes a collective, because we're constantly looking at things. And we're constantly reading things. And our brain is constantly processing. But if you take that and you just give yourself a break, a short break, it's going to be so much better for your productivity. And you could take as many micro breaks as you can during the day. It's not like a drug or alcohol. It's not going to hurt you. And I tell you, hey, if you don't want to take one every hour, take one every hour. It's going to benefit your productivity in the long run.
Yeah, I really, really like that tip, right? Because I think for a lot of people, when they say, oh, I want to be productive, you're just grinding hard, no taking no breaks. And then you just get tired. Your body shuts down. Your brain doesn't, can't think properly. And I really like what you said about taking that change in environment and just not having any devices with you. Sometimes you're just so focused on working on something and you get stuck. You're trying to solve a problem and trying to do something creative and you just can't think of anything. By removing yourself from the environment and just being somewhere different, right? Maybe you enjoy some sounds of nature. Maybe just like you said, taking that big sigh of deep breath, take that big sigh, and then some ideas just start coming into you, right? I think it's just being in that same environment for too long. You just remember things, right? So like for me, I would even admit sometimes my best ideas and sometimes my ideas for my posts on LinkedIn just come when I'm in the shower, just because I have to change environment. I'm relaxed and ideas just come to me.
One of the things I tell my clients is we've all been on those projects where can see the finish line. I mean, you can literally see the finish line, but you're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling frustrated. You're feeling tired. And I said, that's the time you should take a micro break. And they're like, are you serious? I'm so close. I said, yeah, but here's the thing. Do you want to like crawl across the finish line, or do you want to fly across the finish line? If you go take a micro break, 5 minutes, come back, you will sail across that finish line. And a lot of people would rather finish it on a good note than like, oh, I can't believe it's over. So micro breaks are so powerful, but it's so countercultural because the world is on 24/7, 365. I mean, literally, you can get beyond social media or email or anything all day, all night. And so you got to be really intentional about being quiet. I tell people to shut up. I mean, literally just shut up and just be quiet, because we're always talking or doing something. And neuroscience is teaching us that our brain likes to quiet.
Yeah, especially now, you got devices everywhere. You know, that was the key thing you said. You know, even just like you go on your phone, and you know, just the way apps are designed, they're just meant for you to be on there as long as possible.
Yep.
And you get notifications, you get blasted here and there with work email, things like that. Yeah, absolutely. You need to take a break and just, you know, I like what you said. You want to finish strong. You don't want to feel like you're crawling across the finish line. Finish strong, and so it feels like an actual sense of accomplishment, right? I think an analogy, just like you're running a race. When I did run that half marathon, not the full marathon, when I ran that half marathon, about like mile 11-ish, my body started shutting down. I was like, all right, you know what? Let me slow down a bit. Let me keep a slower pace one. Let me keep moving, and that gave me enough energy to kind of that last mile to finish the race strong, sprint across the finish line. So I think that analogy applies the same way when you're working on something very important.
You know, it's interesting. When I started running back in 2017, I learned the run walk method. And what I do is I run for a mile, walk for a 10th, run for a mile, walk for a 10th. And they've actually proven that people that run by the run walk method actually are better athletes, because most people are running full tilt, and then they start, as you did, they start getting tired at the end of the race. But the people that build in the breast breaks as they're running, they actually finish better. And it sounds counterintuitive, because you're like, in the middle of the race, you're going to stop and walk, but you're going to get tired anyways. So you might as well build those breaks in as you're running.
Yeah, I definitely realized that too when I was doing my 100-mile challenge this month. You know, I go run maybe 4 or 5 miles. Obviously, I can't do it straight, but I try to, like, if I know I'm doing 4 miles, I run the 2 miles there, you know, and I walk for maybe a minute or two, right? Get that recharge, and then that second half, the other 2 miles just feels so much better. Or I could just stroke all the way through and just barely make it home, or I'm like hurting trying to get home. I agree with you there, Mark. Yeah, definitely, you know, take those micro breaks, whether it's running, whether you're working on something, and you'll be able to finish whatever you're working on strong.
Absolutely.
So yeah, let me get to our next topic here, Mark. What's the number one reason? What's the top reason why people are just not productive? We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier.
I'm going to say something that may be somewhat controversial, but it's the truth. People are lazy. I don't think people are stupid. I don't think people don't know how to be productive. I think they're lazy. They're like, well, you know, I know if I take care of myself, whether you run, bike, swim, doesn't matter. I know I'm probably going to be healthier, but I'd rather binge watch Netflix for 8 hours. I mean, we know. So I don't think the reason is people are stupid. I think they're lazy. They don't want to do it. I don't know why. You know, I teach my clients, you got to take breaks. You can't just keep going and going and going. You're not the Energizer Bunny, but even the Energizer Bunny is going to run out of juice at some point. Okay. If you look at the entrepreneur, Gary Vaynerchuk, he sleeps 8 hours a night. 8 hours a night. How do you think he gets so much stuff done? People are not prioritizing sleep. People are not prioritizing taking care of themselves. They think they have to get up early, run all day, go to bed at midnight, and get 4 hours of sleep. But that doesn't work. They've proven it. Neuroscience has proven it. You need to take care of yourself. And so I think people are just lazy, or maybe they think that, well, you know, other people are doing it. They look at Gary Vaynerchuk, or he works 16 hours a day. And he also sleeps 8 hours a night. So I don't, like, again, I don't think it's because people are stupid. I think it's because they're lazy.
Yeah. And I think with lazy, it's just like, well, what would you rather do? Right. And then it's like, would I rather go out and run, or would I just stay at home and, you know, put on my pajamas and watch Netflix, right? So a lot of it comes down to the mindset. And I think, you know, what I tell people that you get better at time management with the more things you have. It's sort of counterintuitive as well, because, well, how am I better at managing my time when I have more things to do? It's because you have to deal with all these things and you figure out, okay, what am I prioritizing? What do I need to do first? What do I need to do second? And then you realize what you're wasting time on. Earlier, during the Two Truths and a Lie, I said I had my best grades in college when I was working internship on the side. And it's because I got really productive every single moment during the day. For example, I work at internship in the morning. I have class in the afternoon. I purposely park off campus, and then I take a shuttle to campus, and there I can study my notes from the previous lecture. And on the way back, when I'm done with class, taking the shuttle back to the parking lot, I can study my notes from that day. So I'm always studying. I'm being productive when I'm taking the shuttle. I could just be on my phone scrolling. I could just be doing whatever. But I'm finding opportunities to be productive, and just focusing on that one thing at a time really, really helps as well.
Well, it's like, people don't like to get places early. Like to your point, like you want to review your notes. If you have your class starting 8:00, for example, well, how about getting on campus 7:00? Go someplace on the quad or wherever, sit quietly and read over your notes. But people are running in at the last minute. Class is starting, they're running in, or they're giving a project, a meeting or a sales presentation. I mean, at work, they're running at the last minute. Well, how about if you get there a half hour early? Then you can go there. You're not rushed. You can look through your notes, make sure your presentation's in order. But people are always like getting things done at the last possible moment. And then they look back, oh, I could have done this, forgot this, I forgot this. Yeah, because you were in a hurry. But if you get there a little early, then you can be more composed. We've been in meetings, Stephen, where we like, why is this person out of breath? They're sweating through their shirt, and you could tell they're all frustrated because they were rushing. But if they gotten there early, they could have gone to the restroom. They could have made sure their hair was all done. Not my case, but they could have done that. But when people rush in at the last minute, they're already out of breath. They're flabbergasted. Now they're trying to give a presentation, and then they drop their notes because they're sweating and stuff. It's never ends well. So here's another tip for you. Show up places early. I don't mean a couple minutes early. If you're going to give the presentation, be there 30 minutes ahead of time. Make sure the projector's going to work. Make sure your computer hooks up. Make sure the microphone works. People don't stop and think about this stuff. They just rush into it, and then they get frustrated. Oh, I can never do this. Well, yeah, you can. Just show up early. It's not that hard.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm a very early person as well. So whoever's late, who's always, I have friends who are always late. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. It's just like, why can't you just come early? And I live in the Bay Area where there's so much traffic. Like, you give yourself an extra 15, 30 minutes if you need to, right? Show up early, because it doesn't hurt anyone if you show up early. If you show up late, it does hurt people.
Yep.
And then to tie into your point about just coming to meetings like rushed or unprepared, I learned how to be more prepared, especially in my job right now as a project manager, because I have so many meetings. I can't possibly be prepared for a meeting like right before, because I have meetings back to back to back, stacked on top of each other. So what I'd like to do is the day before, I look at my schedule for the next day and look at it and say, okay, I have all these different meetings. I have my notes ready for those meetings. And if I do have the time, maybe I call in 5 minutes early, I can look at my notes. I don't have to try to remember, what did we talk about last time? I already have it all there in my notes. So just being prepared ahead of time saves you so much time down the road, saves you that stress. And maybe me and you, I think we approach this the same way. I just don't get how people are able to do things last minute and not just stress out.
Yeah, it's one of those mysteries of life we'll probably never solve.
So, but yeah, and then we talked a bit so far about how to be more productive. We talked about why people aren't productive, because they're lazy, they don't have their priorities. But some people are just like, hey, I want to get productive, but I just can't get things done. How do you limit distractions, right? We have phones, we have all these things going on. How do you limit distractions to make sure you get things done without having to check your phone, or maybe some other distractions as well?
One of my favorite words today is intentionality. Okay. So if you want to limit your distractions, like let's take the phone. I mean, we bring the phone everywhere we go. Well, how many notifications do you have going off? Now, I'm not a zero notification guy. There are some instances where notifications are good. Like I have my weather apps turned on, my credit card apps turned on, because I want to know if you're using my credit card up there in New York City there, Stephen. Okay. So those are important. But do you need social media turned on? Do you need email turned on? Do you need Amazon turned on if you don't have a delivery coming? Maybe not. I don't know. But I think people need to take a hard look at their notifications. And if you're getting notifications and you're like, man, this is distracting, then turn it off. Another thing I tell people is disable vibration mode, because if you mute your phone and you put it face down, but then you get a text message, what happens? It vibrates, and there goes a distraction. So definitely look at your phone. I would encourage you to do a notification cleanse, which means go through all your notifications on all your devices and determine, do I need this on? Is this notification serving me, or is it a distraction? You get to choose. There are no notification police. There are no distraction police. You get to monitor yourself. So definitely that. Number 2, set boundaries. Whether you're working from home, you're working in corporate America, wherever it is, make sure you set boundaries. Okay. So if you are working from home, do you have a spare bedroom that you can work in so your family knows when you're there, you're working? If you do, fine. If you don't, maybe you can carve out a corner of the living room or the kitchen or the back porch and maybe tape it off with masking tape and say, when I'm here, I'm working. Unless the house is on fire or someone's bleeding profusely, I don't want to hear from you. And so set up boundaries. I mean, limit distractions. We have so many distractions in our lives today. They're all over the place. They're electronic, they're non-electronic, but you got to make sure you are being intentional about managing them. You can't blame other people. Like I think early in 2020, people were blaming Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. You can turn those off. You can delete those apps. They're not the problem. You're the problem. You're the human being. You could turn your phone off. You can get in your car and go to a park someplace where no one's going to be and leave your phone behind or put on do not disturb. So you have the power to be undistracted if you want to be.
Man, you made some really, really great points there, Mark. I agree with you. I think maybe to sum it up in one sentence is just focus on one thing at a time, right? And that's what I do, right? If I'm editing a video, right, after this live stream, I'm going to edit this video, I put my phone away, right? And yeah, okay, it chimes and rings, but I know to not check it, right? If it's something really, really important, someone will call me, right? I don't need to check a text message. I don't need to check a notification within the 10 seconds it comes out, right? It's really not that important. So I think just by focusing on one thing at a time, and I really like what you said, I might pick up that tip as well, just disabling notifications, because do you really need to check Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, email every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes? No, right? It's just a time suck, and it distracts you from what you're working on. So yep. Really excellent points there, Mark. I 100% agree with you there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then maybe here's the last thing I want to talk about here before we wrap up. So we talked about limiting distraction. What are some other ways that you can get better at just focusing on what you're working on and getting things done?
Well, I'm a big fan of clutter-free work areas. So when you're working, let's say you're going to write a blog post, okay? The only thing that should be in front of you is the device you're using to create the blog post and maybe your water, okay? So many people they work in areas and their whole work area is clutter. Well, you're trying to write this blog post and your eye sees a stapler, it sees a picture, sees a pen, sees a wrapper from last night or whatever. And it's why is it your eyes are always looking at this stuff? So I would encourage you, if you really want to focus, make sure you set yourself up for clutter-free as possible work areas. Now, this is not just physical, it's mental clarity. It's noise. Do you hear noise? Is there a cat outside your window meowing? Do you hear a helicopter overhead? See, you may not think of any of these, but your brain hears that. You can hear a helicopter 15 miles away, and you can hear the very faint thud, 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 and your brain's going. I mean, you're trying to focus on writing the blog post, and your brain's going, "What's that noise? Oh, I hear a plane." You're just like not really paying attention to it, but your brain hears everything. And so what I encourage you to do is maybe get some headphones. I have a playlist in Apple Music, which is all instrumental music. I also have some apps that play like rain or thunderstorms or waves or crickets, so this way I'm not hearing anything else. I can focus, because most people live in an area where they're just quiet and they're just focusing on the blog post. In this instance, they're hearing all kinds of noise. They're hearing the neighbors talk next door. You're hearing a radio boom car 2 streets on, and your brain is paying attention to it. And you may not be aware of it, but you're losing your focus without even being aware of it, because your brain is constantly scanning through all the senses of other things, which is affecting your ability to focus.
Man, that's a great tip. My table is very cluttered, but it's just the current situation here in the hotel room. But yeah, I agree with you. It's just our brain's always working, and yeah, maybe you're focused on one task, but it's always listening, it's always seeing things, it's always smelling things. So there's always all these different distractions. Of finding ways to limit that. Just having a clean desk and with the headphones, I think that's an excellent tip as well. I realized I'm more productive at home than being in the office because there's just so much noise going around. Right? You hear conversations, you got people walking by. So just by I'm at home, right? I do the thing where it's like, hey, I got an important meeting, doors closed, don't come in unless it's something like an emergency, like you said. So I'm more focused on getting things done there. So that's another great tip as well there, Mark.
You ever been working at home and your wife starts cooking food and you're trying to focus? Now you can smell that aroma. That's another way to lose focus. People don't think about that. But if you're hungry and you smell that meal, getting toward the end of being cooked, you can't focus. You're like, your stomach's going, yeah, you're trying to write this blog post. I know it's going to be on the table in a few minutes. So again, it's all the senses. We always think about our ears and our eyes. It's all the senses.
Yeah, you just try to get through that blog post as quickly as possible. Send that in, and then you can go eat.
Yep.
Yeah, Mark. Any last tips you want to share here before we wrap up?
No, I don't want to say no. I want to say don't overcomplicate it. Okay, productivity is not that complicated. What happens is too many people are trying to do too many things. Just pick one thing. Whether you heard me on this live or you see me on LinkedIn, whatever the case may be, just pick one thing that resonates with you and go do it. Don't try to do 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 things at once because you're gonna give up. You're gonna get frustrated. So just pick one thing. I don't care what that one thing is. Micro breaks, planning, doesn't matter. Pick one thing and then get really good at that. Then go back and do some other things. The problem is people are trying to do too much and it never ends well.
Excellent point. I think the one thing I'm going to pick out of all this is the disabling the app notifications. Yeah, I can mute my phone, but it's just like, when I take a break, it's like, oh man, there's so many notifications. Well, I don't need to check all those notifications there. So yeah, I'm going to put, this is Mark's LinkedIn profile here. Hopefully I spelled it right there, Mark. So make sure you connect with Mark. He provides a lot of great tips about productivity. Mark, anything you want to share about yourself? Anything coming up? You want to put a plug for anything that you're working on?
If you want to find out what I'm working on, go to my website, mrproductivity.com. One thing I'm really excited about right now is a lot of people are getting tired of email because they're getting too many things in their email inbox. Okay. People are so frustrated with their email inbox is overflowing. So I decided to try something. There's a messenger app called Telegram. Are you familiar with Telegram?
I've heard of it, yeah.
So I went out and created a channel on there. You can go look for Mr. Productivity. And I'm just sharing 1 or 2 tips a day. They're bite-sized. So it's not like a long email with all this text. It's really simple. I've only got a few people. I think 7 people are on it right now. I just started going heavy on it because it can be delivered to your phone. It's really quick. Of course, you have to have notifications turned on, but it's not a long email. It's like a real tip of the day and like, oh, I could do something with that. So I'm experimenting with this. I'm really excited about it because I know people's attention is really, really short and they may not have a chance to read that email. So I'm trying to take the same content of the email and really shorten it down to just a nugget. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I'm trying to do that right now. So just go look for Mr. Productivity on Telegram.
Yeah, make sure to check that out. So yeah, Mark, thank you so much for your time here. We talked a lot about productivity, a lot of great tips, talking about taking micro breaks, getting that change in environment, focusing on one thing at a time, limiting distractions, turning off app notifications, just a lot of different things here, decluttering your workspace. So a lot of great tips here. And then the final thing you said is just focus on one at a time. Don't try to do everything at once because then it's definitely going to be overwhelming. So whatever you're working on, focus on that task only. Take that micro break as needed and finish that task strong. So, any last words here, Mark?
No, sir. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here to serve you.
Yeah, no, I learned a lot from this as well. So thank you so much, Mark. Thank you to whoever's watching. And yeah, if you make sure to connect with Mark, go check out his website there. Follow him on Telegram. We'll get those daily bite-sized tips on productivity. And yeah, thank you so much, Mark. And hope everyone has a great rest of your evening here.